thank you very much for allowing someone from PSC to speak at this, and it's incredibly appropriate. Nearly 100 years ago, the whole region was dominated by the British Empire, and the British Empire drew up with the French the lunatic borders that people are fighting over today. And the British wanted a weak Iraq, so the crazy borders that it's got with the Kurds, with the Shia and with the Sunni, and it was a classic of the British Empire, divide and rule. And one of the key areas that they went for, they drew up Kuwait as well, which another key war. One of the American Assistant Defense Secretary said, if Kuwait grew carrots, we wouldn't give a damn. And the British wanted to carve up the area so that they would have an ally in one of the key resources. Even today, 56% of the known oil reserves are in the Middle East. And the British wanted a Jewish state bang in the middle of this area. And there were essentially three reasons that they wanted. The first reason was they wanted to protect the Suez Canal and access to the British India. The second one was they wanted access to the oil. But there's a third one that people forget about. The man that drew the Balfour Declaration, he was anti-Semitic. He didn't like Jews. And at the time, there was a horrible pogrom going on to Eastern European Jews. And there's a lot of slander, you know, a lot of hatred that we're seeing today against refugees and migrants. We don't want them here was the cry. And Balfour didn't want Jews landing here, in spite of them fleeing horrible persecution. And so he said, let's dump them somewhere. And so that idea, let's carve out a little area in the Middle East that will protect British interests, grew. And so it was the anti-Semites that liked the idea of getting rid of Jews and dumping them in the Middle East. The British governor of Jerusalem said, what we need in the Middle East is a loyal little Ulster to protect British interests against a sea of potentially hostile Arabs. And the result of the British divide and rule, you can see just behind you, the systematic, ever since 1948, there's been a systematic robbing of Palestinians of land and water, basic rights. When you hear our government and these right-wing people talk about the two-state, look at the little enclaves that would make up a Palestinian state. Look at it, tiny little areas. Those of you that are older will remember these tiny little islets where the natives are supposed to run themselves. And if it looks like Bantustans, that's exactly what it is. It's not us in PSC that call Israel an apartheid state. The roads that lead to those white colonies, Israel is building these colonies. There's something like 500,000 Zionist settlements in the West Bank. The British government says they're illegal and then does nothing. It's hypocritical. As we're speaking today against another British intervention, just look at the results of the last intervention. Horrible, nasty Bantustans. And when the British government says it wants a two-state solution, Israel is making that impossible. There is no capital. The capital has been stolen, annexed by Israel. There is no rights to water, stolen by Israel. No borders. It's if you look at the area between Jordan and the Palestinian territories, that is controlled totally by Israel. So today, people in the Middle East remember the last British intervention. It was an intervention, divide and rule, and plunder of the local resources. Britain goes and bombs the local people. It gives ISIL a fig leaf. and it's a fig leaf that says we're fighting for something. I want to make it very clear, I think ISIL is a very, very nasty, sectarian, murderous group. And the more British intervenes, it gives them a fig leaf of anti-imperialism, and we shouldn't give them that. Our government is responsible for the mess in the Middle East. We've seen the interventions that other speakers have talked about, and just look at that map and remember two things. That was the result of the last intervention of the British weaponry. Well, there's been a few more since then, of course, a couple in Iraq and Kuwait and so on, and Afghanistan. But for 100 years, Britain has been intervening in the area, and on today's day of international solidarity with the Palestinians, just remember it, there's a leaflet going round with the map on and says what you can do. So keep fighting. The two battles are intertwined, and we in PSC are proud to be part of the campaign to stop the current bombing. There's a load of stuff that's happening to us. The PSC is under attack from three sources. One, Paul has already mentioned with the prevent strategy. TTIP will make it illegal to boycott, and the government has passed is planning to introduce a law to say local governments are not allowed to engage in boycotting Israel as well. The co-op is closing our accounts. So there's masses to do. There's a flyer going round. Just get involved, keep struggling, and thank you for allowing me to speak.